Okay, well, I would like to welcome everyone this morning to our webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started. So the topic today is the 6 pillars of digital marketing, how to design your marketing program. And what we're going to do is really cover some really pertinent information. I think some of this is specific to right now, what's happening with the COVID-19 and the downturn. And in particular, a lot of this is going to be focused on what do we do now that things are starting to ramp back up. So as we go through this morning, I'll go through a little bit of my background a little bit. We'll talk about the marketing in general and the 6 pillars of marketing. We'll talk about generating leads and converting leads and really what's involved in a full-scale comprehensive marketing program. So real briefly, my background, just a few slides about my background just so you kind of know who we are. So I'm one of the co-founders of WEO Media. We started the company in 2009. It's a dental marketing agency. We work with about 700 dental practices all over the country, and that's what we do is dental marketing. Dentistry Today twice named me the one of the top CE leaders and consultants in the country, which I really appreciate that accolade. It's nice. Last year, also, I published my first book titled Mastering Practice Growth. I'll talk about that briefly at the end of the webinar. And really, when we started WEO Media back in 2009, we're based in Portland, Oregon, and the idea was really to focus on the dental industry. We really, since 2011 in particular, focused entirely on dentistry. We really focus on providing exceptional service for our clients, and so we have a really high client retention rate, over 91% typically. Our company provides dozens of different marketing services, websites, everything digital marketing you can think of. And so the reason I say that is the things I'm going to teach today in the webinar and that I teach in my courses at conferences is really based on our experience. It's based on data, it's based on case studies, and it's based on the knowledge we've gained over the years from providing a wide range of services. So it really gives us a lot of insight into what effectively works for dental marketing. And then last but not least about our firm, we've been very fortunate and we're really humbled to have won this award 4 years in a row. This is the Celerant Technology Awards, Best of Class Award for being a top website and online marketing company in the industry. And this award is given every year at the annual ADA conference. So pretty proud to have won that a few years in a row here. And so I think that reflects what we've done. Now let's talk about marketing. When we talk about marketing, one of the first things to really understand is what would be the motivation? Why would we want to do this? And I think some of this is fairly obvious, right? If marketing is working properly, we can increase revenue and profits, which thereby increases the value of the business. And that's pretty obvious. But what's nice about digital marketing in particular is that it allows us to focus on specific high margin items. So for example, cosmetic dentistry, dental implants, orthodontics, sleep dentistry, things of that nature. Or, we can focus just generally by targeted areas. So it used to be back in the day, you could target by like a zip code or a city. And now we've got the ability with digital marketing, we can literally target down to the neighborhood level. So this neighborhood, but not the neighborhood next door, that kind of thing. It's very targeted. And really when we're talking about marketing, I mean, it should be making you money, right? Marketing should more than pay for itself. If it's not making you money, then it's not working properly and something's wrong. And so this happens a lot. I talk with a lot of doctors who spend money on marketing and aren't really seeing a good return on investment. And a big theme of the webinar today is going to be explaining how a properly designed and effective marketing program should work. And if you have chinks in any of the armor here, and if you're not checking all these boxes that we're going to go through, that can really lead and explain why maybe your results aren't as good as they could be. Now, when we talk about online marketing, it's really about 2 things primarily. Number 1 is we want to drive traffic to the website, and we'll talk about all the different ways to do that. And number 2, once we have the traffic on the website, we want to convert that website into new patient leads. And so both of these things are really important. You can't have one without the other for a successful program. And so what I'm going to talk about is the elements for step 1, the elements for step 2. And when you're doing all these things well, that's when you can get an exceptionally good result with your online marketing programs. Step 1 involves what we talk about at WEO Media as the 6 pillars of online marketing. You've got the website, which is kind of that foundational bedrock. That's the foundation we build the house on, right? That's the most important piece. Search engine optimization, this is really what we do to get good Google rankings. Pay-per-click ads, these are paid traffic for targeted search terms and geographies. Online reputation, this would be your online reviews on the major review sites. Social media and videos, right? So these are the 6 things that are really important, and we'll talk about all 6 of these in more detail. This is step 1. These are the things that are important to help us drive traffic to the website. Now, step 2, once we have the traffic, what helps us convert that traffic? Well, having live chat on the website, having online appointment scheduling on the website. Teledentistry is something that's obviously become very in vogue here in the last month or so for obvious reasons. And then videos also can help convert leads from the website. So we'll talk about all the things in step 1, all the things in step 2 as we go through this. Let's start with step 1, driving traffic to the website. So as we go through these 6 pillars, we're going to kind of talk about how these all work together and why they're so important collectively. And so let's start with the website, okay? What matters on a website? Well, these days, obviously having it mobile responsive, mobile optimized is very important. For almost any website nowadays, over half of the traffic is going to be on mobile devices. So the hundreds of dental websites that we provide, we have data on a lot of that. And so what's interesting when I do these teaching courses, I have access to large amounts of data, and so it really gives me insight into what works and what doesn't work and why certain things are more important than others. And mobile is just hugely important. On dental websites, what we see is an average of about 70% of all traffic is on mobile devices. So if your site's not really friendly for a phone, you are definitely losing new patient opportunities and probably frustrating existing patients, maybe even losing some because of that. I don't often see sites that are not mobile optimized anymore. Even as recent as last year, I would still see a fair amount. Now I think most people have kind of got this dialed in. Now, if you're not sure if your site's mobile responsive, you can actually check this yourself on Google. You go to Google and you type in Google Mobile Friendly Test. And when you type that in, Google will return a little search result that has a little section where you can just type in your website address. So just type in www.whateveyouraddress.com. And in about 30 seconds, Google will return the result to you and let you know if your site is mobile friendly or not. If it is, it'll be a little green message says you're mobile friendly, you're good to go. If it's red and you have problems, you should get a hold of your website company immediately and get that fixed. It is really, really a huge problem to not be mobile friendly right now. Other things that matter with the website, well, HTTPS security. So you may notice when you come to a website at the very top at the address where you've got the www dot, before that is the HTTP. Now, HTTPS, the S stands for security. And that's important because for a couple of reasons. Google has stated that there are strong preferences for all websites to move in that direction. And so eventually it will become a bigger ranking factor, meaning sites that are not secure are going to rank lower in search results. That reason alone is reason to migrate your site to HTTPS if you're not already there. At WEO, that's all we do is we won't even launch a website that's not secure anymore. It just makes no sense. So probably your site's already this way if you're not sure. Again, go to your browser, open up your website and just look at the address and it'll tell you right there. If it says HTTP, then you're not secure and you need to get that upgraded with your website company. Now, there are a lot of other things that matter with websites these days. Having a modern design, clear calls to action, for your services. Typically, people have 3 or 4 call-outs on their homepage, be it dental implants or cosmetic dentistry or whatever it is they want to focus on. The use of videos is very important on a website. Having a practice overview video on the homepage and patient ed videos. We'll talk about that more later, but those are very important. The other thing that really makes websites stand out and kind of pop is the use of actual photos instead of stock photos. So if possible, hire a nice local photographer, have them take pictures of the practice, outside, inside, waiting room, equipment, everything, right? The doctors, the staff, even photos of maybe, people in your practice interacting with patients. As many photos as possible really make the website look a lot more personalized and a lot more custom. And so I've actually run tests with kind of quote unquote templated websites, and we'll put videos and actual photos on the website, and people think they're custom websites. And so really the secret to me is the template design doesn't matter. You can use a templated website all day long. It's totally fine. The thing is you just need to personalize it with videos and photos and it looks custom. That's honestly what you need to do. There's no reason to spend $10,000 on a custom website. It's completely unnecessary. But as long as you have these main elements, you should be fine. Now, the second pillar is search engine optimization. This is really, really important. One of the most important aspects of any digital marketing program is SEO, search engine optimization. So if we're going to talk about this, it's really important to understand a little bit of back information about how do search engines work and how does Google determine how high or low to rank your website. So let me start with a few little technical details about how Google works. So Google does something called indexing your website, okay? So about every 30 days, so for average websites, my website, weomedia.com, your website at your practice, we're just normal businesses, right? We're not Amazon, we're not eBay, we're not one of these big giant companies. For average websites, every 30 days, Google will come and index your site, and it crawls through your site, and what it does is looking at every page on your website, every line of code, every photo, every video, every blog post, looks at all that, stores all of it on its servers, and it compares what it sees today to what it saw 30 days ago. And it's really looking for, have you made any improvements or updates to the website? That's part of the criteria that it uses to judge you. It also looks at things that are away from the website itself, like your reviews on Google or Yelp or Facebook or Health Grades or whatever. It looks at social media engagement, on Facebook and Instagram. Do you have videos posted on YouTube? There are actually over 200 variables Google looks at to determine how high or low to rank your website. And so because you're getting judged and graded by Google every month, it's important to kind of just have a steady dose of things happening over time, okay? That's really important. Now, specifically, what things should you be doing for SEO? Now, I find a lot of companies out there have figured something out about doctors and dentists. They figured out that, hey, we can sell these guys, an SEO package or any kind of package for that matter for $300 to $400 a month, and it's a low enough price point that they don't really scrutinize us. So we can really get away with not really doing much of anything. And they'll just kind of think that they're getting SEO, they'll think that they're checking the box, and that they think they're good to go. And then a year later, they're like, hey, wait a minute, I haven't gotten any new patients. What's going on here? This happens all the time. I mean, all the time. And so what I try to do in these webinars is I try to educate people. If you're paying someone for SEO, here are some of the things that it must include. So first and foremost, unique content. If you're paying someone for SEO, there has to be unique content on your website. I did a web review with a doctor this morning in the Pacific Northwest and, analyzed his website, and 75% of his content was not unique. But he had been paying for 4 years. 4 years he'd been paying a company a lot of money for SEO. And still after 4 years, he had very, very little unique content. We also looked at his meta code. So his meta code, like your title tag and description tag, the schema code. What Google does is Google reads the code of your website, the HTML code. You and I, like human beings, right? We look at photos and videos and colors and logo and this kind of stuff. That's not what search engines see. Search engines read code. And so if you want a search engine to rank you highly, you have to have the code really dialed in and optimized. And so we can analyze this, myself and my consultants, we can analyze this stuff in about 15 minutes and determine pretty quickly if a site has everything it needs done to rank well. And we'll talk about that more later. Now there's lots of other things. Directories, backlinks, and so forth. There are many, many things that should be happening for SEO to work effectively. And so when we do an SEO analysis on a potential client who might want to work with us, we analyze all this stuff. Now here's a real quick example. I'm not going to turn this into a big coding experiment today, but I do want to just give you a bit of a flavor of what this is. So this is a software tool. This is Google's structured data testing tool. What we have here on the left is the actual code from the website. That's the HTML code. So that actually is what your website looks like. It's that kind of code. On the right side of the screen, this is what Google's testing tool detected from this code. Now I've blocked out the website there, so you can't really see the website that I'm going to pick on here, but this is a website that's not performing very well because there's no schema code. It's not been optimized very well. Now contrast that with, this is one of our client websites, and this is good. This is what you want to see. Notice on the right, it says, oh, dentist. It's got the name of the practice, the phone number, the fax, the email, the map location, the address. Google can pick out all that information because we've properly updated the schema code. So if you're not doing the code properly, then Google's not going to rank you well. And this is just one example of many, many things that you have to do properly to get good rankings in a competitive environment. I want to show you real quickly what this looks like. So when you do all these things properly and do them well, you can get really great results. So here's a practice up in the Seattle, Washington area. Seattle, Washington's super competitive, highly populated, very tech savvy, right? This is the home of Microsoft and Amazon, right, to put it in perspective. very tech savvy, very competitive. So this is a website we launched, and the first month they had about 500 visitors to their website. And you can see within about 9 months, we had quadrupled that traffic to 2,000 visitors a month. And so that's great. That generating traffic is fantastic, as long as it generates leads. If your traffic goes up, but people aren't picking up the phone and calling, then who cares? It's a total waste of traffic. So here's the calls. What we do is we'll track phone calls on these things so that we can understand how many calls are we generating from the SEO efforts. And so if we go back here and look at the traffic, you'll see that the trend of that graph looks almost exactly like the trend of the phone calls. Well, that's what you'd like to see ideally, is that the calls are tracking with the traffic. That means that the traffic we're generating is the right type of patient, or the right type of prospect anyway, the right type of traffic, and they are willing to call the practice, which means we're generating legitimate dental client or dental patient leads, right? This is what you'd want to see. Now, in this case, these guys got a really nice return on investment. They were spending about $2,500 a month with us on SEO and paid ads, and that combination was generating 20 to 30 new patients a month. So for an acquisition cost of about $100 to $125 per patient. And generally, once we can get people ranking on page one, which happens usually pretty quick, within 6 months or so for the most part, the acquisition cost should be $100, $150, something in that range, definitely under $200. For a general dentist, a new patient in year one is typically worth between $700 and $1,000. So if you can acquire that patient for $100 to $150 in year one, that's a really good return on investment, especially if you're able to keep that patient long term. Then it becomes a great return on investment. So that's kind of a case study of when things happen well. That's the good outcome. I'm going to show you this one too. This is also one of our clients. This is an interesting study here. So this client, the previous website before they came on board with us, they had about 20 to 30 phone calls a month flowing through their website. And when they started doing SEO with us right when they launched, so when we launched the website, they immediately started increasing in rankings, and their traffic and phone calls started also increasing. What we're looking here on this graph is phone calls by month, okay? Phone calls per month. This is a little over 2 years of data. So you can see for the first year, they're just steadily climbing and increasing, getting more and more and more calls. And then what happened was the client about month 15 or so decided to cancel their SEO. And we were really surprised. We were like, well, why would you want to do that? We've, tripled, quadrupled the number of calls, the number of leads you're getting. And they said, well, we're not really seeing the return on investment. And we're like, how is that even possible, And so we analyzed the calls, and about 40%, about 40% of the calls were going to voicemail. So if you spend hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars a month to generate leads, you've got to answer the phone, right? And this practice just wasn't answering the phone. And so, yeah, the doctor was wasting his money because his staff wasn't answering the phone. I would have thought a much better solution would have been answer the phone, either hire somebody else or have a call center or something, but he chose to turn off his SEO. Now, what's interesting about that, look what happened to his phone calls literally the month after he turned off his SEO. Boom, it just drops off a cliff. This is what happens because Google's judging you every month. And so if you're not doing things to get rewarded by Google and other people in your area are, you will drop very quickly in the rankings and your leads will fall off a cliff. And so this is also kind of a little sidebar right now. Right now in this whole COVID-19 shutdown period, there's a huge opportunity right now to really be doing SEO because most people are canceling or putting SEO on pause or on hold for a few months until they see when things turn back on. And that's just such a huge mistake in my opinion. Because everybody else is stopping that right now, you've got a huge opportunity to do it or continue doing it, and you can really make some pretty rapid gains. So in particular situation, we saw in the past, in years past, we would see clients that would say, oh, I'm not seeing a result because largely they weren't answering the phone. And so what we did is we built out our partner infrastructure. So we now have software that we can recommend people use that analyzes the calls, it coaches them on the calls. We have practice management consultants we can recommend in most markets who can help with this kind of thing. So if you're really trying to grow your practice, this is a good outcome, right? The first half of this graph, the first left of this graph is a great outcome. We're generating leads. The problem was these little check mark boxes here, right? They weren't taking good care of answering the phone and converting those leads. So if you can dial both of those things in, you can really do very, very well. So our team in particular, our SEO team is very good. What we've found, again, crunching data from years and hundreds of clients, 75% of our clients rank on page 1 of Google within 6 months or less. That is exceptionally good to do that in competitive environments. Okay, the third pillar for generating leads is pay-per-click. Now, these are the paid ads, right? When you do a search on Google, the very, very top of the page, those are paid ads. Typically, the first 3 to 4 listings are paid ads, okay? Below that, you'll see the map. That's the local map, and that's an organic listing. And then below the map are the organic listings as well, without the map. So you've kind of got 3 different sections on page 1 on a Google search to get found. The map and the listings below the map, those are organic. Those both have to do with SEO, which we just spoke about. Now I'm talking about the very top part of the page, which are the paid ads, okay? Now, paid ads actually can be very, very effective if you know how to run the campaigns properly. And this is one of those things, it's a lot more technical than people realize. When you set up a campaign, there's lots of different ways to test keywords in the ad itself. And when people click on the ad, you have to take them to a specific landing page for the topic of that ad. When you do that, then Google's judging your ads. Google's looking at how many people are clicking on your ad, how long they spend on the landing page for that ad, and based on all this information, Google will generate a quality score for your campaign. The higher your quality score, meaning good, Google actually charges you less money, less cost per click, okay? That's a good thing. If you don't have your campaign running properly, Google will give you a lower quality score. Google does it between 1 and 10, so like a 7 or an 8, that's a really good quality score. But if Google says, okay, you're running an ad on dental implants, and when I click on it, people are going to your home page, and there's no content about dental implants on your home page, that's a disconnect. You're going to get a low quality score. Google's also going to see, oh, not a lot of people are clicking on this, low quality score. People, when they go to your landing page, they're leaving quickly, not spending much time there, low quality score. So you really got to know how to technically run these campaigns properly, but if you do, they can be exceptionally profitable. Now let me explain kind of how the proper strategy is to use a PPC campaign. So this is the Los Angeles area. So in particular, I've got Anaheim in highlighted here, right? Anaheim. And so let's just say for sake of example, this little star here, let's say that's my dental practice, okay? And I'm kind of in Anaheim, and very, very, very likely I have patients not coming from just Anaheim. But if you look at the surrounding circle, because all of you, right, if you downloaded all your patients from your practice management software, you would see a pretty wide distribution of different zip codes and addresses and stuff like that. And typically it's going to be something like this, right? You draw like a 3, 4 mile, 5 mile radius, and that's where most of your patients are going to be coming from, is in that radius. Now, here's how SEO and PPC work, okay? In this circle, the circle represents where I can potentially pull patients from. Anaheim represents where I would rank for SEO. SEO is going to rank you based on your physical address. So if my address is Anaheim, I will rank in a Google search for Anaheim. But look at this. What if I'm in Buena Park or Fullerton or Cypress or Stanton or Garden Grove? All these places are very close. They're within driving distance for someone to potentially see my practice, but I'm not going to show up on a Google search for those people because it's not an Anaheim address. If they're in Garden Grove and type in dentist Garden Grove or dentist Anaheim, they're still going to see dentist in Garden Grove because that's what's closer to them. That's where pay-per-click can come in. So if you think about this, the circle represents my target where I would like to draw patient leads from. Anaheim represents SEO, and anything that's not Anaheim but still inside that circle, that's where we can target PPC ads, the paid Google ads. That's the most effective way typically to structure this. Now, the exception to that would be if you're not ranking very well on Google for Anaheim, then you would want your Google ads to focus on Anaheim. But if you're already ranking on page 1 for Anaheim on a Google search, then you'd want to focus on the other surrounding areas. So those are some of the strategies we employ to get the best bang for the buck on these things. But I just want to explain kind of how SEO and PPC complement each other and should work in tandem for an effective program. Okay, the fourth pillar would be online reputation. So in dentistry, we talk about the big four review sites: Facebook, Google, Yelp, and Healthgrades. Most important is Google for obvious reasons, right? Google is the big dog. They have 2/3 of all search volume is on Google, and Google reviews have a very strong impact on Google rankings. So of course, Google reviews should be everyone's primary focus. Now, when a potential patient is looking at doctors and trying to select a doctor, trying to select a healthcare provider, the most important factor is average star rating. That's the number one thing people look at. And this has been studied many, many different studies. It's not just my opinion. This is just based on a lot of studies I've read. So Average star rating, most important factor. You've got to be above 4.5. 4.5 or above, you're in a good spot, okay? You're good to go. If you're between 4 and 4.5, not bad, but you would want to get that up. If you're below a 4.0, you really need to focus on that ASAP, because very few people click on people, very few calls are generated if you're under a 4.0. There have been studies that show that you get a significantly higher percentage of leads and calls and clicks if you're over 4 versus under 4. So that's really the benchmark. So if you're not sure, I'd get online today, look at every review site you can find that talks about your practice, and hopefully you're above 4. If you're not, then I'd focus on getting it above 4, especially if it's in one of these major review sites, okay? Now, also important here is having recent reviews, fresh reviews, right? Kind of every month you're generating new reviews every month. Because if you've got a nice star rating, but your most recent review is from 14 months ago, people look at that and like, I don't even know how active this practice is. I don't know if this is still relevant. Maybe the same doctors aren't even there. So people tend to discount if it's more than 6 months old, people tend to discount those. So you really want to every month be driving new reviews. Now we have a review software we use at WEO Media that uses text messaging and emailing to drive reviews for these major review sites, and it's very effective. The double benefit here is obviously it helps your online reputation. It also has a significant impact on SEO performance, because Google looks at all these SEO, all these reviews as significant SEO factors. So if Google sees you're getting lots of reviews every month, it definitely helps your rankings on a Google search. Now this is something that's really important. It's probably one of the more important graphs and slides in the whole presentation. This is what I call the lead conversion funnel. And this really what I try to do here is explain the mindset and how the process flows for a potential patient investigating a practice. So at the top of the funnel, we've got kind of your brand awareness activities, direct mailers, print ads, radio, stuff like that. These typically have a conversion rate of about 1 to 3%, pretty low, right? So that means for every 100 mailers you send out, you might get 1 to 2 to 3 phone calls, okay, pretty low. Now compare that with our website and our social media platforms. Those typically convert about 10 to 20%, meaning for every 100 people who hit my website, I'll generate between 10 and 20 phone calls, okay? Converts much better than mailers. Now compare that with review sites. This is where it gets really interesting. So when people call, if we look at the traffic on your Health Grades page, your Yelp page, or your Google business listing, if you look at the traffic on those versus the calls that are generated from that traffic, it's 40 to 70%, much higher. Well, why is that? Because generally, this is the general flow for how patients make decisions. They will generally look at your website, look at some Facebook posts, maybe watch a YouTube video, and usually the last thing that they do before they decide to go to you is look at your reviews. Look at the reviews, then I pick up the phone. That's the normal flow. Now, it doesn't always work that way, right? Sometimes people start at your Facebook page, then go to your Yelp page, and then back to your website. I mean, it's not always totally linear like this funnel's showing. But on average, this is how things work. So now if we think back a few minutes when I said the 6 pillars of online marketing, now you can see why this is so important, because website, social media, videos, reviews, all those things are in the browse and decide here, the 10 to 70%. That's where the vast majority of your leads are going to come from. You've got to be checking all these boxes. You've got to have good social, good website, good reviews, and good ranking so people find you, right? So this is why all 6 of those pillars are so important, because this is the decision-making process and the mindset that patients go through when finding a dentist. So this is why I really harp on these 6 pillars over and over with people. Okay, the 5th pillar is social media. Now for dentistry, Facebook and Instagram are by far the most effective. For other types of businesses, Pinterest, there's many platforms out there. But for dentistry, what we have found to be the tried and true ones that work the best are Facebook and Instagram. Generally, we recommend, post 1 to 3 times a week. Keep them fun and engaging, kind of educational type posts. If you're posting content, there are kind of 3 types of content. There's a post with just text. Those don't generate much engagement. You can add a photo, and that will definitely increase your engagement. But by far the most engagement you would ever get on a social media post is one with a video. So Facebook put out a study a while back, and it showed posts with videos compared to posts without videos. The video post had 17 times higher engagement level, 1,700%, right? That is a massive increase if you have a video versus no video. So if you're going to take the time to post, every post certainly does not need to have a video. In fact, most don't even need to have videos. But if there's something like, if there's a message that you really want your people to see, or you really want to get the word out, I would encourage you as much as you can, use videos, because it significantly increases engagement on your posts. The other side benefit here, much like online reviews, there's a big side benefit to engagement. It's a big factor for SEO rankings, for Google rankings. Now, what's interesting about social media is people ask me all the time, well, is posting on Facebook helpful for my SEO? I said, well, it depends. If you post on Facebook or Instagram and people don't engage with it, engagement means they comment on it, they like it, they thumbs up, they share it, they retweet it. There's some sort of actual engagement happening with your post. That is actually a pretty strong SEO influence. So Google looks at all that stuff and says, okay, you're putting content that people are engaging with, that gives you brownie points in Google's rankings process. The flip side of that's also true. If you put out content and there's very little engagement, it's just kind of like crickets, Google looks at that and you basically get very, very little benefit at all for posting content that has no engagement. So that's why if you're going to go to the effort, try to make it fun, engaging, educational, use videos. That'll increase your engagement and you'll get a lot more bang for the buck on your social media engagement. Now, the last pillar here is videos. Now, videos really kind of play both areas. Videos help drive traffic. Videos also help convert traffic, kind of like reviews. Reviews play both as well. Online reviews help people decide to pick up the phone and call you. Online reviews help with SEO performance. Videos are the same way. What videos do is they help, once you're on the website, people will watch a practice overview video. That's kind of the most important video to put on your website. It's typically 1 to 2 minutes long. It will be an overview of the doctor or doctors, the practice, just kind of get a feel and a flavor for the practice. And the video really helps kind of bring fear level down, because dental patients have a lot of anxiety about going to the doctor. In fact, that's the #1 reason. Fear and money are the top 2 reasons people don't go to the dentist. And so what the video does is helps address the fear. And by personalizing it, by showing who you are, it really brings that fear level down. And videos definitely have a pretty significant increase in your conversion rate. So I always encourage people to shoot a practice. Now, the overview video should be professionally produced. This is not something you do on a selfie smartphone thing, right? This needs to be a professional videographer comes and does a full-blown shoot. We've done hundreds of these video shoots for clients, and they turn out really, really nice. Now, also important are patient education videos. We use a really nice service for these as well. We put these on the dental service pages, and it does increase engagement and it helps with the conversion rate. Last but not least, there's another thing that's really cool. So if you think about it in your practice, if you find yourself answering the same types of questions over and over, whether it's the doctor, the front desk person, your billing coordinator, whoever, right? If patients have a lot of the same questions over and over, which I'm sure they do, you can create frequently asked question videos about that and put that on your website. And those things actually are pretty darn helpful for SEO rankings. So think about that. If you put 10 or 15 FAQ videos on your website, or if you have an FAQ section right now and it's just text, I would encourage you to replace that text. Just honestly, and these could even be done if you wanted to on a selfie video. I'd probably still have a videographer do it if you could. But even if you did it on a selfie video, just talk about these FAQs, put them on your website, host it on YouTube, and that actually is a pretty significant impact for your SEO as well. Okay, so those are the 6 pillars which really focus on step 1, which is driving traffic. Okay, now once we've got the traffic, we do all these things in step 1. Those 6 pillars, we're getting traffic, awesome. Now, how do we convert that traffic into patient leads, right? Well, these are kind of the 5 main things when we think about converting traffic. 24/7 live chat, online appointment scheduling, teledentistry, and then videos show up here again. So we'll talk about each one of these in a little bit of detail. So what we do, we have a vendor that we're using that does 24/7 chat plus teledentistry, and actually plus online appointment scheduling. It's actually all 3 services in one. But in particular, chat and teledentistry work very effectively together. Right now, because practices are not open, although some are going to start opening here in May, depending on what state you live in, this is a really nice way, because if we're getting the traffic to the site, the chat is a great way to engage people 24/7. And when I say 24/7, I don't mean you staffing it 24/7. We have a chat team that staffs it 24/7, and they're all dental trained. And so there's an onboarding program, and how it works is that onboarding chat operators will ask, what insurances do you take? What's your office hours? What hours and days are you available to hop on an emergency dentistry call if you're offering emergency dentistry right now? All that type of stuff. And so the chat operators have a pretty good profile of your business. So when a chat person comes on and starts a conversation, now the chat operator is not going to get in any kind of clinical dialogue, right? They're not clinicians. They're just trying to capture information and funnel that information to you and keep that lead active and live so that you can reply to it in hopefully near real time or shortly thereafter. So this is a pretty effective way. In fact, we actually are doing a free 60-day trial right now for our clients who have websites with us. We're offering them a free 60-day trial to just try the platform. It's pretty slick. Here's kind of what it looks like. So if you had, so this is one of our clients, client down in California, and this is kind of what we would typically do on a homepage. So you put a banner kind of somewhere on the, like this one's right across the very top. It says emergency dentistry and teledentistry is now available. To set up an appointment with one of our doctors, please call or communicate using our live chat, right? And then boom, there's a live chat box, pops up right there. So this is a really nice combination. So whatever traffic you're already getting to the website, this is a nice way to convert that traffic. Now, if you don't have a lot of traffic hitting your site, this may not produce a lot of patient flow. But if you still have pretty decent traffic on there, it can be pretty good. I was talking with one of our oral surgeons last week, and he normally averages about 1,300 visitors a month to his website. It's a one doc surgery practice, but he does very well. And I looked and I said, well, doc, for April, you're still on pace to average about 700 people hitting your website this month, even though he's not even technically open except for emergencies. And so I told him, I was like, hey, look, you should get this chat, this chat teledentistry thing going. It's free for 60 days. You got that much traffic, you're probably going to be able to, really drive some flow. And so that type of thing, and again, depending on your flow, this could be a really nice opportunity to capture those things. The other nice benefit here of teledentistry is if patients come see you, that means they're not going to the hospital in some cases, right? So anything we can do to alleviate the emergency rooms and keep people out of the hospital, that's definitely a good public service that we'd all want to help with right now. Online appointment scheduling can be separate from the other service, or it can be bundled with the chat and the teledentistry. It works best when it's all lumped together, because what's happening is when patients come to the website, there's different options for how we might want to convert. Some people are going to want to engage in a chat. Some people just want to pick up the phone and call. Some people would rather just fill out a form and schedule an appointment. And so you want to be able to offer them all those three options, because those three options are the primary options that people are going to convert when they hit a website. So give them all the options. That's going to maximize your conversion rate and therefore maximize the return on investment for your program. So those are the first two steps, right? We got to drive the traffic. We got to convert the traffic. There's a couple other recommendations I want to make here, and we'll wrap it up in just a few minutes. So this is something that I think is extremely important, especially right now. I've been giving a series of webinars over the last month on specifically what kind of marketing you should be doing during the downturn. And this is a slide I've taken directly from that presentation. So what I'm telling people is this: start out with just make a list of everything that you do in your practice that's in the best interest of safety for your patients. And the reality is, a lot of this is stuff you've been doing for years, right? Now, the general public doesn't know this. I quizzed a bunch of people in my personal inner circle, and I said, hey, what do you think dentists do for safety? Like, I don't know, wash their hands, use gloves. I mean, they didn't know, right? And so they don't know about autoclaves and sterilization of your equipment. They don't know about your PPE that you use and your processes and protocols for PPE. They don't know anything about OSHA. They don't know about your safety protocols. Are you using anything like for air purification? Do you have any kind of HEPA filtration systems in your practice that screen out viruses? Well, that'd be pretty relevant right now, don't you think? So make a list of everything you do for safety, okay? Whether it's you're doing it now or you're planning to do it when you reopen, okay? Everything, just make a list. Once you've got that list, get a hold of your website company, have them build a page on your website that says our safety practices or safety protocols or safety at our, whatever it is, right? Practice safety. Make a list, build out that page. And once that page is built in your site, have some kind of messaging on your home page that also links to the page. Maybe put it in a drop-down menu under your services or about us or something like that. Now, once you've got that all put on your website, that can be a real marketing hot button. That's something you could definitely leverage on social media posts, in an e-newsletter if you're doing that, SEO and pay-per-click ads. Earlier this week, actually on Monday, I did a webinar to a group of doctors on the East Coast. And I was saying, hey, I was talking about this slide, and I said, hey, this is something I'd recommend. You might even want to consider doing direct mailers, blasting out to like a 3-mile radius around your practice and saying, hey, here's all the things that we're doing for safety in our practice. And one of the doctors said, that's funny. I just got a direct mail piece from an orthodontist near me, and that's exactly what she did. Is she sent this direct mail piece out, and it's all about her safety stuff that she's doing. I was like, yeah, the reason she did that is because this is what's in the mind of everybody right now. It's like, okay, I know I would need to go or want to go to the dentist. I'm overdue. I should probably go in, but I'm really scared, right? I'm scared about what's going on. So if you can put their mind at ease with this list on your website or a direct mail or a social media post or whatever, that's going to really help bring people back into the practice. So this, to me, again, probably one of the more important slides in the webinar, especially right now for where we are right now this year. This is a big one. So I would highly encourage you to do this. Okay, one last little tidbit here. When things do reopen and patients are coming back and you're like, okay, I'm mostly back to normal here, I want to think about marketing. There's an organization called the Academy of Dental CPAs, a great group, several dozen CPA firms. They're all independently owned and operated. And they collectively represent over 9,000 dental practices that they do accounting for. I always recommend, if people are looking for an accountant, this is a great group to go. It's just adcpa.org. They put out a study, and a lot of their CPAs have recommendations that say, if your practice is wanting to grow, they recommend spending 3 to 5% of your revenue or collections on marketing. That's what they have seen with their practices that are growing, and they look at the percentage, because they're obviously looking at the numbers. That's what they see for practices that are growing. That's what they're spending. And we've seen that to be very true with our clients as well. When we look at clients at WEO Media that are doing exceptionally well with their digital marketing, they're typically spending between $1,500 and $4,000 a month on marketing per location, but the return on investment is very, very good. So like I said earlier, the acquisition cost, you'd want to be $100 to $200 for acquisition cost. If you're in that range, in my opinion, you definitely should be just pedal to the metal on the marketing stuff. Okay. So I covered a lot of ground here today. We talked about websites and SEO and converting leads and generating leads and all this stuff. A lot of times people are not so sure how they're personally doing on their practice. And so we have a team of consultants at my company. And what they do is, and this is all free, and it's not a big sales pitch, they will analyze your stuff. They'll look at your website, they'll look at your SEO and all this kind of stuff, and they'll put together kind of a summary, and then they'll set up a call with you and review this stuff with you. And so what we're offering is anybody who wants to do this, we'll do it for free. And we'll also, if you want, we'll send you a free copy of my book. The consultants will let me know after they complete the consultation with you. They'll let me know, hey, I just spoke with Dr. Smith. Here's his address. Can you ship him a book? And then we'll ship you a book right after the consultation is done. So we're happy to do that because our goal here is to educate you as much as possible. Of course, we would love to work with your practice. Of course, we'd love to be your marketing partner. But we're not a big sales pitch organization. We're a big education organization. We want to educate you on here's how this stuff works. Here's how we do it. If you want to work with us, we'd love that, but we're not going to be a big sales pitch and try to call you 27 times and bug you to death. It's like, hey, cool. If you want to work with us, that's awesome. If not, that's cool too. We're just here to provide information. So anyway, I'm going to leave my contact information up here while I just make a few closing remarks. If you have questions, feel free to send me an email or you can text me. My cell phone is right here as well. I'm happy to answer all your questions about any marketing topic we covered today, or even if it's something we didn't even talk about today. Maybe you've got a question on direct mail or whatever, Facebook ads or whatever you want to talk about. Happy to share information, whatever we know. A lot of times too, what I find is people maybe aren't comfortable kind of asking questions in a group setting and they prefer to kind of do it privately. But if you have questions, we certainly can do that. There is a little panel here on the webinar for questions. If you have any questions, you can put those in there. Typical questions, here's some questions that I get a lot of the webinars. And I'll just answer a couple of these and we'll wrap it up for the day. One of the questions is, so with this SEO stuff, how much should I spend? And it largely correlates to your competition. So if you are, in a rural setting out in, kind of rural Montana, you don't need to spend much, right? A few $100 a month is probably fine just to do basics. If you are in a smaller town, 30, 40,000 people, SEO level 1, what we call SEO level 1 is about $500 a month. If you're in a decent sized city, 100,000 to a few 100,000, level 2 for $750 a month. And if you're in a bigger city, probably level 3 at $1,000 a month. And that might sound like a lot of money, but once it really starts driving results, it's a good ROI. So that's one of the common questions. Another one is on the teledentistry platform, especially right now, we get a lot of questions on that. And so there are, I guess, my real high level comments on teledentistry. it's certainly not something that I think is going to make a ton of money, right? It's really more, it's a way to bring in some revenue. It's a way to maintain contact with existing patients. And those are both good things. But it's also, I think, a way right now to potentially pick up new patients because, especially like with emergency patients, a lot of doctors I've spoken with over the years normally view emergency patients as kind of one and done. Like, oh, they come in, I fix them, and I never see them again. And I think that's somewhat true, but right now I'm really questioning the logic in that because my experience has been with people I've been talking with lately. If people come in for emergency dentistry right now, they are so appreciative because everybody's scared right now, and we can't go to a restaurant, we can't travel, we can't go see friends, we can't really do much. And so people know that it's a risk. You're taking a risk by staying open. You're taking a risk by seeing them. And so my experience with a lot of the doctors I'm speaking with is those who are doing emergency dentistry right now, patients are really grateful. And I think that's going to generate loyalty. I think that's going to generate referrals when things open up again. And so I would just encourage you to think about it. If it's not just like, oh, it's not going to be worth it financially, I think there's some other benefits. And I think eventually it could be worth it financially for you. So just some food for thought there. So anyway, I really want to thank you all for joining. I think we're about at our time here. I was targeting right around 45 to 50 minutes, and we're there. So I will leave my information up here for just another few seconds. If you want to send us an email or text, happy to answer your questions. But I want to thank everyone for attending today. I really hope that the information here was helpful. I hope you can take some of these things and immediately implement them in your practice. Make that list of safety things that you're doing for your patients, put it on your website, leverage it in your messaging, right? Let people know. Stay in contact with them. So again, thanks for coming today. We do have more webinars we're doing. If you go to our website and click on the About, there's a drop-down menu which talks about our webinars. And I'm doing a webinar like this every month, different topics throughout the year. You can see all the different webinars we're doing, but they're all free. I'm happy to share, as much information as we can on these webinars. So thanks for coming today, everybody, and hope to see you on a future webinar. Take care.